But because of his great love for us, God, who is rich in mercy, made us alive with Christ even when we were dead in transgressions. It is by grace you have been saved. And God raised us up with Christ and seated us with him in the heavenly realms in Christ Jesus, in order that in the coming ages he might show the incomparable riches of his grace, expressed in his kindness to us in Christ Jesus.
You know, when we talk about salvation, what's the first thing that pops in your head? For a lot of us, it's maybe a single moment, right? A prayer we said one time. But what if it's bigger than that? What if salvation isn't just a point in time, but a whole journey? A journey with a very specific, powerful shape that honestly changes how you see everything.
And that's really the heart of what we're digging into today. This idea that salvation isn't a snapshot. It's a movie. It's this epic three-act story that shapes not just our past, but our present and our future too. So, what's the shape? Let's find out.
All right, so every good story has a beginning, right? Act 1. And the beginning of this story, well, it's probably way more dramatic than you'd expect. See, Act 1 isn't about us climbing some ladder to find God. Not at all. It's about God smashing into our story with a verdict. A final, unchangeable verdict. Just listen to how stark that language is. The story doesn't start with humanity just being a little lost or confused or needing a hand. No, the starting point is death, a state where you are totally, completely unable to move toward God on your own. I mean, just think about what that means for a second. No ability to pull yourself up by your bootstraps. No way to get yourself ready or make the first move. This is the absolute bottom. Complete helplessness. And then, bam! This is the turning point of the whole story. Out of that dead stillness comes this interruption. And it's not from us, it's an action by God. You know, those two words, but God, they might just be the most powerful words in this entire story. This isn't something we earn, it's a divine break-in. So you have this total stillness, this nothingness, and then something breaks in, an interruption. And that interruption is grace. It doesn't show up because we worked for it or got ourselves ready. It just arrives. And it arrives with maybe the two most powerful words in the whole Bible. But God. It's a complete one-sided rescue mission from heaven.
This whole first act has a name, Justification. And it's really a legal term, so picture a courtroom for a second. God the judge isn't looking at you and your track record. He's looking at Jesus' perfect record and then bangs the gavel. He declares that perfection, that righteousness, as yours. It's not something you feel. It's a verdict that is spoken over you, a status that is given.
Okay, so that's Act 1. The verdict is in. But the story doesn't end there. Now we move into Act 2. And if Act 1 was this instantaneous flash of a divine verdict, Act 2, well, it's a lifelong process. The whole scene changes. We're leaving the courtroom and we're stepping onto a battlefield.
And this is so important. Because God isn't just interested in forgiving sinners. He's in the business of remaking them. See, he doesn't just get you off the hook legally. He wants to make you new. The person who was declared righteous is now in the process of becoming righteous in how they live and think. He's rebuilding what he just rescued.
And the metaphor used for this stage is just perfect. It's a walk. I love that, don't you? It's so grounded. We're not talking about floating on a cloud or just drifting along. It's one foot in front of the other, step by step, day by day. And look at that third point, effort, not merit. This is key. We put in the effort, we strive, not to get saved, but because we already are saved. It makes a huge difference.
So the person who was declared righteous back in Act 1 is now spiritually alive. A genuinely new creation comes into being. Now, it's not a finished product, not by a long shot, but it is absolutely real. A new life has truly started.
But let's be real, this walk isn't some peaceful stroll through a meadow. Nope, it's a war, and you can see the two sides laid out right here. Flesh versus spirit, old ingrained habits versus the new call to holiness. There's this constant pull, this tension. And you know what? That's not a sign you're doing it wrong. That tension is totally normal.
It's the old self, the flesh, fighting back against this new creation. It's old habits battling against new holiness. It's the darkness we came out of, trying to creep back in and fight against the light we now walk in. This conflict, it's a totally normal, expected part of Act 2.
Seriously, this next thought might be one of the most encouraging things you'll hear all day. That struggle you feel inside, that constant battle, that's not a sign of failure. It's proof that there's a war going on. And the very fact that you're fighting means you're alive and on the right side.
So let's just nail down what this second act, sanctification, really is. It is not about being perfect. It's not about never messing up. It's all about direction. Which way are you facing? Are you moving, however slowly, toward God? It's about staying in the fight, even when you take a few hits. It's about being faithful, even when you're wounded.
But here's the good news. This war, it doesn't go on forever. The story doesn't end with us bloody and bruised on the battlefield. There's a final act, Act 3. And this is where the tone shifts completely, from struggle to absolute, breathtaking glory.
This right here, this is the hope that keeps us going through the whole messy war of Act 2. We actually know how the story ends. The struggle we feel right now, today, is not the final chapter. There's one more act, and it changes everything.
So what is this final act? It's called glorification. And let's be super clear about this. This is not a metaphor. It's not just a nice, fuzzy idea or a fond memory. We are talking about a literal, physical, bodily resurrection, the ultimate, final transformation.
Just think about what this means. The war we fought in Act 2, it's over. Sin isn't just something we fight against anymore. It's completely gone, silenced. The body isn't something we struggle with. It's raised, perfect. And salvation, that whole journey that started with a single verdict, it finally reaches its spectacular conclusion. And this brings the whole story full circle, doesn't it? Our salvation didn't start because of our hard work, and guess what? It doesn't end because of it either. Our guarantee of getting to that final glorious state isn't based on how awesome we were in the fight. It's based on the simple fact that God, who started this whole thing, always finishes what he starts.
Okay, so we have our three acts. Act 1, Justification. Act 2, Sanctification. And Act 3, Glorification. That's the shape. But the big question is, so what? Why does knowing this shape matter? What does it actually change for us right here, right now?
This chart really pulls it all together, doesn't it? You've got Act 1, Justification, that's grace kicking the whole thing off. Then Act 2, Sanctification, that's the Spirit keeping us going in the middle of the fight. And finally, Act 3, Glorification, that's glory wrapping it all up. It's one single, beautiful story from beginning to end. And this is the real payoff. This is why the shape matters. It gives us balance. Think about it. If you only focus on the struggle of Act 2, you can end up trying to earn God's favor all over again, which is exhausting and impossible. But if you only focus on the grace of Act 1, it's easy to get lazy and think the fight doesn't matter. This framework lets you do both. You can rest completely in the security of what's already done while still fighting hard in the present. It means your effort isn't about earning salvation. It's a response of gratitude for salvation. It honors the struggle, but it anchors you in the sure hope of the future. It keeps your eyes on the real prize, glory.
So let's wrap this up with a question for you to think about. If this is the shape of the journey, where are you today? Are you really resting in the finished work of Act 1? Are you engaged in the good fight of Act 2? Are you living with the powerful hope of Act 3? Because understanding this shape, it does more than just give us information. It helps us find our place in God's incredible story.